In today's latest news, we discuss the recent $500 million investment made into our football club. To move on, we discuss the future surrounding Reece James. We talk Ivan Toney. We discuss more big stories that have dropped over the past 2 days. So my friends, hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Hit that like button. But before we get into anything, 2 quick announcements. Watch me and Mars' recent collab that I dropped today. And we have a very special message from today's sponsor in Parimatch UK. Quick question, my friends, but how do you like the chance to win a £50 free bet? Well, Parimatch UK have recently launched their new completely free-to-play football prediction game called Hat-Trick Hunt. That means that each week you'll get the chance to predict 3 scores from the Premier League with 3 rewards for each correct prediction that you make. Get all 3 correct and you will be rewarded with a £50 free bet. It really is that simple. So as you guys can see, this week I'm going for Burnley to draw against Man United. I think United's form is awful right now. I'm going for a high scoring draw against Arsenal and Spurs. I kind of feel like most times in these London derbies, you see quite a lot of goals. And for my final prediction, I'm going for a 2-1 win against Aston Villa. And that's probably the most ambitious prediction out of all 3 in my opinion. So my friends, do you agree with any of my predictions? If you would like to get involved yourself, click on the link below. Of course, you must be 18 plus or over to play, and you'll find full terms and conditions, of course, applied in the description. So thank you to Parimatch for sponsoring today's video. So right now, let's discuss the latest investment news, as recently the club have now acquired around £400 million, around $500 million from Ares Management, the US firm. Now, this story is confirmation behind an older report where, as we've known for a while, we had hoped to get some more money to help with investments. Right now, we need money, of course, to fund this new stadium, and we have plans to increase and boost our multi-network model. We've got Strasbourg. We're now hoping to get some controlling stake in Sporting Lisbon, and obviously some other clubs on top too. Now, we have secured a $400 million capital injection from Ares Management, and this deal reportedly is going to be an equity deal. Anyway, co-founder of Clear Lake Consortium and Jose Feliciano had this to say, and as he said, we have bought an asset that is very coveted by many other potential buyers. Ultimately, we are extremely aligned with our supporter and fan base because the best way to make our club more valuable is to win. And obviously, if you're investing in any sports team, winning is the only thing that can make you more valuable. To move on, as Feliciano also states, the team had a tough first season, our first season, but we have a tremendous amount of talent. And let's hope that this talent comes through because, in my opinion, I feel like sporting principles and business principles aren't necessarily the same. I feel like in business, you can have these forecasts for the future to be like, okay, if we've earned X amount this year, over the next 5 years, this is our targets, this is our plans, and this is where we really feel like we will get to based on everything we're doing right now. But in sport, it's completely different because you have competition against other sporting teams, and that can just really affect like the direction you're hoping to go towards. And currently this season, we haven't seen the wins that we're still hoping for. Fingers crossed it comes because listen, we all want to see us win and perform well, because if this pays off, this will pay off big time. So I'm going to hope for the best case scenario right now, but as I'm trying to communicate, it's something I'm just keeping in the back of my head because I think last season has maybe become a bit more realistic around our ambitions. So that's the first story out the way. So right now, let's discuss the latest reports surrounding Ivan Toney, and it seems like we are getting a valuation figure now from Brentford if any club hopes to sign him in January, and that fee is now between 50 to 60 million pounds. And that makes things maybe a bit more interesting because the original valuation fees being quoted was around 80 million pounds, and I just feel like that type of money doesn't make sense for a player currently serving an 8-month ban for betting charges. Personally, I think that he's been made an example. I think that the ban was extremely harsh, and I don't know, when other players now are getting accused of the same thing and getting way less sentences, it does feel pretty unfair in my opinion. And as confirmed by Fabrizio Romano, us and Arsenal now have been very well informed over the situation of the player. Now recently, of course, Toney joined new agency in Kaz. Now, recently, Ivan Toney joined CAA Stella, like one of the premium footballing agencies around right now. They helped us secure our new sponsor deal in Infinite Athlete. We're still waiting for the confirmation to go through around that. So, of course, the fact that he signed up with them does tell you that a big move is set to come, because Toney wants to remain in the Premier League too. Now, it seems like maybe Arsenal may be the current favourites, and to be fair, that doesn't surprise me, because I gotta be fair, right? I feel like maybe Arsenal's footballing project is a bit ahead compared to us, and I feel like if Toney was to pick a London club, maybe you'd be more inclined to sign for Arsenal that has Champions League football, and you feel you could really just like play for a winning team instead of joining a club where we still haven't seen the results yet of this project that we're working on, and it's getting close to now 18 months. Now, Thomas Frank has been gassing it up, of course. He said that Toney is one of the best number 9s in Europe. He's just underneath Harry Kane, Lewandowski, Haaland. He's getting around 20 goals per season in the Premier League. Yes, we know that, but a lot of those goals do come from the penalty spot. And the cynical part of me is like, if we sign Toney, are we even going to get our money's worth and that value back from penalties? Probably not, because we rarely win penalties these days. Like, in terms of everything we do in front of goal, the numbers are dropping incredibly low. And even though I think we can get some benefits from Toney in terms of like aerial threat, maybe being more of like a target man focal point for other players to link off with, Jackson, Mudryk, others could benefit from that. I guess my thing is, for the money and for the wages, is he necessarily of that caliber that I'd want us to invest in when it comes to signing a big money forward? Because for me, I think signing a striker is such a delicate thing to do. We're Chelsea fans. We've been on the suffering end, the receiving end of mega money strikers that haven't lived up to the goods. Look at the headaches that causes over the years. We can't make that mistake again. And I feel like if we're going to sign anyone up front, it can't be because we're trying to like save face and just sign any striker to help our season. It has to be that we're signing the right person that we feel will really take us to the next level. And if we have to wait until the summer, if we can't secure Champions League football, I feel like we have more options that open up. And I don't see the need really to make a move right now in January. I feel like if I was a club interested in Toney, I look to sign him in the summer where his valuation drops even more. I wouldn't even sign him in January, to be fair with you. But regardless, my friends, let's see how things go on. Share your thoughts and opinions. Is Ivan Toney the striker that you want to see? If you guys want to get like more in-depth conversation behind this, make sure you guys check my recent collab today with Mar. Very good conversation, but hope to do maybe a bit more this season. If you guys want to see more of us together, let us know in the comments. So right now, let's move on to the next story. And let's discuss this very annoying story, because Real Madrid reportedly see Reece James as the star player they hope to sign next summer. Now, as we know, James has signed a new 6-year deal. He has now been instated as our new captain. And regardless of the ambition that Madrid have, I think this would be incredibly difficult for them to pull off. But anyway, before I give my thoughts and opinions, let's understand the story first. And right now, Madrid want to replace Dani Carvajal, and Madrid only signed the very best to replace their players. Now, is it too good for Reece James to potentially turn down working alongside one of his best friends in Jude Bellingham at Real Madrid? Probably not. You know, he has a lot of respect from the Real Madrid players. Of course, Vinicius Jr. said that Reece and Kyle Walker were the two most difficult opponents that he's faced in his career. We remember the acknowledgement that Benzema gave towards Reece James, and we lost that game against them in like sad fashion. After we played one of our best games, I'd say, this decade against Real Madrid away from home. Absolute classic. And I'm sure that all you guys still show us highlights on YouTube. Yeah, I know I definitely do that. So Reece James has a lot of clout and respect at Real Madrid. But going back to the captaincy, this guy is also Mr. Chelsea. So my thing is, the only way I could even envision Reece James leaving depends on two things. Number one, we have another nightmare season this season where we don't perform. And maybe Reece feels like, for the sake of my career, because I want to be the very best right back in the world right now, it makes sense for me to take this opportunity to go to Real Madrid. And maybe I could even understand that if that worst case scenario was to happen. And on the other hand, My only other way I see this is that the club maybe think that Reece James' injuries are getting maybe a bit too much right now, and maybe it makes sense for us to cash in on him. Now, it's no surprise that even last summer, we were linked with right backs, and we know that Ivan Fresneda, who's recently signed for Sporting Lisbon, the same Sporting Lisbon that we hope to acquire some controlling stake in, he is also seen as like a long-term successor to anyone at this football club. Why would we sign a right back for no reason? So are the club even potentially just like keeping options open in case the worst case scenario was to happen? Who knows? But even saying that, how many of our players leave us and then you don't really hear much about their injury record anymore? So I know a lot of us are feeling like there's some things happening behind the scenes with our medical department because some of these injuries aren't making too much sense, and we have to investigate this and get to the bottom of things. But again, even though I'm saying all of this, I still feel like it'll be extremely hard for Madrid to sign Reece James. I don't think Reece James will just easily leave us whatsoever. So I'm not here to worry you guys at all, and let's hope that our captain will remain here for the foreseeable future. So my friends, let's start in things with the final story, and we discuss some multi-club network targets. I'll be discussing the latest round in Gabriel Moscardo, and I'll be talking about Wesley. Now, let me start the story off, and reliable Brazilian journalist in Jorge Nicola revealed that we've been following this Corinthian youngster called Wesley, but let me give you guys the context first. Now, this story only became a thing because our new scout, Alisson Marins, the Brazilian guy that was announced this summer, who's worked to bring in a lot of Brazilian players to our club recently, he was spotted alongside Wesley at an under-20 Corinthians game. But to give you guys the context now, he was the guy that brought Wesley to Corinthians to begin with. Like, this Wesley kid is like 20 years old, and in my opinion, this isn't like a new player that we're hoping to sign at all. I think it's just a friendly meetup. That's all it is. But the only player we're looking at from Corinthians is 17-year-old Gabriel Moscardo. And recently, Barcelona now are making their interest clear for the player. However, they haven't made any formal official offers, and it makes a lot of sense because we know that players from Brazil can't leave until they're 18 years old. So that means that if you hope to make a move for him, you have to wait until the January window. So it comes down to this. Do we risk having a transfer battle alongside Barcelona for Gabriel Moscardo, or do we use the next few months now to take advantage and try and get him secure before then? Who knows? Because I kind of feel like if Barcelona are targeting him, they aren't targeting him to become part of their network model. They're targeting him so he can be part of their first team. Right now, Corinthians are holding out for around 30 million euros, and our offer on deadline day was around 25 million euros, 21 plus 4 million in add-ons. So we aren't too far away. I don't understand why we stopped from just paying the amount of money that they wanted. And you know what? I kind of have this little theory. And my theory is that we are hoping to maybe try and get Sporting Lisbon acquired before the January window, because we then hope to maybe sign Moscardo and maybe other players and then loan them to Sporting Lisbon. Because I see it like this. I kind of think that it's a massive L that Andre Santos has made a loan move to Nottingham Forest. I feel like the whole point of these young guys we're signing is that we are signing them to play for our network clubs, to be within our environments and our models, so we can safeguard, their career paths, right? So we can safeguard their developmental pathways. And already we're seeing the risks behind what happens when you allow other clubs to have some of your prize youth players. Andre Santos has made one appearance for Nottingham Forest in the EFL Trophy. We know that Nottingham Forest invested a crap ton of money in signing midfield players, and right now it seems like Santos is right at the end and bottom of the pecking order. And how's that going to help him this season? That's what I don't like. So I thought the whole point of signing these young guys was so they are going to be loaned out to clubs that we own, because it's a safer way for them to develop. So I just don't think that we can afford to sign more young players without having more network clubs, because that makes no sense to me. And I do kind of feel like if you're a player coming from Brazil, and let's say that Lisbon is your pathway into your first footsteps in Europe, I mean, that's an amazing like opportunity to have, because Sporting Lisbon, you know, they're a team that really know how to use young players and give them the opportunity and spotlight to shine. So I've said this about every young player that we've targeted throughout the past few windows, but we really are targeting some like great 4-star, 5-star potential youngsters. My only concern is that we're signing an abundance of them in like 1 or 2 windows. Normally you sign maybe 1 or 2 max, but to go for like 4 or 5, it seems like a bit of overkill. And I say this because I actually even think, you know, once the news first came out that we were looking at Moscardo, I've watched a lot of this kid, yeah? And I even kind of feel like he might have a bit more to his game than an Andre Santos already, which is the, you know, the crazy thing about it, right? So hopefully we can get him secured, because he could be an incredible player in the future. But we've said this about everyone, and ultimately, if they don't get any like game time here, it's all for nothing, right? So my friends, what do you guys think about today's news? Share your thoughts and opinions, and of course tomorrow I'm releasing more content, so have those notification buttons on, my friends. So on that note, I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lions TV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.